Amid history's chilling tales, one name stands out in infamy: Elizabeth Bathory. Behind her beauty lay a darkness that led to stomach-churning deeds. Brace yourself for a journey into the horrifying chronicles of a female serial killer. In this video, we are going to see the stomach-churning events of Elizabeth Bathory. You've probably heard of the Countess of Countess Castle, who is infatuated with her youth and beauty in a time when the macabre is all the rage. Elizabeth Bathory, one of the first confirmed female serial killers, is often cited as the inspiration for contemporary depictions of vampires. It's hard to think someone could be as vicious as the Countess, who has a horrific history of torturing and brutalizing her victims. Let history prove or disprove this horrific tale, the stomach-churning events of female serial killer Elizabeth Bathory, as some historians today do not believe it to be true. The Copernican galaxy is glad to have you. The beginnings. To better comprehend the origins of Báthory's penchant for violence, we must first explore her past. Hungarian-born Elizabeth Bathory, the name means Elizabeth the Báthory, was born on August 7, 1560, to Baron Georgi Báthory VI of the ex-Ed brand and Baroness Anna Báthory of the Somlayan branch. Mental illness and genetic diseases were common among the Báthorys and other notable noble families because of inbreeding. Her great-uncle King Stephen Báthory of Poland suffered from epileptic seizures, and two of his brothers were notorious dictators and criminals. His dad would go on sleighs in the midst of the summer. She had frequent epileptic seizures, erratic mood swings, and excruciating migraines by the time she was 4 or 5 years old. She had health issues from a young age and was also subjected to severe treatment. During this time period, it was common practice for nobles to beat their subordinates. Elizabeth witnessed the public hanging of a local gypsy who had been convicted of kidnapping and selling children into slavery when she was only 6 years old. The gypsy was surgically implanted into a horse. She also saw Stephen Báthory's rage-fueled order to have local peasants' ears and noses chopped off when she was 15 years old. This stoked the flames of opposition to him. In 1570, when the girl was 10 years old, she was pledged to a man 5 years her senior, named Ferenc Nady. Elizabeth, the bride-to-be, was sent to her prospective mother-in-law's court to learn the ins and outs of household management 3 years before her wedding. It was said that she had an illegitimate child with a local farmer around 1574. The birth was covered up, and the baby was given to a trusted woman who was paid off to leave Transylvania and never return during Elizabeth's reign. The father of the peasants was accused of exploiting Báthory. The dogs quickly devoured him when Ferenc had him castrated, the most savage way he could think of to tell the young Báthory not to let this happen again. Freinordnad, Toblu Castle, Hungarian, Verano, finally hosted a glittering wedding on May 8, 1575. The festivities lasted for 3 days, and Nadasdy presented his new bride, Countess Ferenc, with the Gothic castle of Kestes and the neighboring villages as a wedding gift. Both individuals called the Nadasdy family's Sarvar mansion home. The union of these two powerful houses strengthened their ties to both Transylvania and the Kingdom of Hungary. Since the castle was inhospitable in the winter, the Blood Countess didn't spend much time there, but she was rewarded for her nuptials. What a fantastic present, a castle that no one can live in. Wedded bliss. The couple had 5 kids between them, a young bride and an ambitious though ruthless husband. Anna, born in 1585, Ursolia, born in 1590, Catalan, born in 1594, Paul, born in 1597, Andras, born in 1598, and perhaps also Miklos and Georgi, whose birth years are unclear. Like their mother, the children had been brought up by the governances. Nadasdy, unlike his future wife, Countess Ferenc, was illiterate. He'd spent a lot of time on the battlefield, so he knew military strategy inside and out. Elizabeth oversaw the administration of their vast estates and the upkeep of their territory, numerous hamlets. The castle that Nadasdy and Elizabeth shared is reputed to have been the scene of many horrors. Historians disagree on whether Ferenc had a girl confined, doused in honey, and attacked by insects for Báthory's amusement. He is also reported to have given the Countess a pair of clawed gloves, which she used to punish erring servants. Aunt Clara allegedly further corrupted Elizabeth by introducing her to shady parties of the carnal eye variety, and a group of sorts, witches and alchemists. Count Nutty, the Black Knight of Hungary, died suddenly in battle after a long and happy 29 years with his beloved. No one knows for sure what killed her husband, and some have even blamed Elizabeth for his illness. The ailment that killed the Count is still unknown, but it is known that the Count suffered from agony in his lower limbs for at least 2 years before he lost the use of his limbs and died. He left his estate and widow to Georgie before he passed away. Elizabeth toured Europe extensively before settling down at Countess Castle, which she had remodeled in a lavish Renaissance style. Her brother Stephen died on her travels, leaving her his Devon Castle, a key point on the Austrian border, a year after she lost her husband in the contest. Despite never receiving cash, the widow sold the estates to get out of a sticky situation. According to some stories, Báthory's violence escalated following the death of her husband, and her bloodlust was motivated by a need to avoid death and preserve her youth. According to one report, a teenage maid once got blood on her cheek during a particularly intense discipline session. After removing it, she saw a marked improvement in the appearance of her skin. According to some reports, the only thing that helped her migraines was hearing the screams of the tormented. She went to the extreme of opening her gynecium in order to gain access to better blood, claiming that ordinary people's blood didn't have the same impact. After Lutheran minister István Magyari filed complaints against her in public and at the court in Vienna, rumors of her arrest and accusations of atrocities spread throughout the kingdom. Finally, in 1610, Holy Roman Emperor and Hungarian King Matthias II tasked the Palatine of Hungary's geological department with looking into the controversy, who were later blamed for torturing housemaids. Nonetheless, given servants were considered property at the period, it is unlikely that a noble woman would have been convicted for their abuse. Allegedly, prisoners were subjected to torture that included having their bodies covered in honey by servants and then being put outside for insects to eat. Like her husband had done before during the winter, the young woman may have been stripped naked and thrown into an ice bath. Báthory would pierce their nails with needles and sever their noses or lips. Stinging nettles were used as a whip on some of the victims. It has been stated that Báthory also bites her victims on the shoulders and chests. Flesh, including the victims' legs and feet, was allegedly burned by Báthory and her accomplices. Some representations of Elizabeth have her taking a shower or bath in virgin blood, and others have her swallowing the vaginal blood of her victims. Neither of these assertions has any supporting evidence. 2 years later, on December 31st, 1612, Elizabeth Bathory and 4 of her trusted employees were arrested for their roles in the plot. Due to the widespread illness and Janus's young age, all of the ladies were executed by fire, while he himself was decapitated and thrown into the flames. Thrilling, right? Subscribe now for more thrilling stories like this, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when the next post is up. After news of the Blood Countess's actions spread, her relatives decided to put her under severe house imprisonment. They wrote to the king about the capture and detention of Báthory, stating that she was trapped in a bricked room and sentenced to death. According to records created by priests in July 1614, she spent the rest of her life imprisoned in the castle of Countess. Similar to being under house arrest, she was not restricted in her movement within the castle. According to her alleged will, written in September 1610, she bequeathed her entire estate to her children, both at the time and in the future. On the evening of August 20th, 1614, Countess Elizabeth Bathory informed her bodyguard that her hands were cold. So, she went back to bed after hearing his remark. The famous Blood Countess, age 54, was discovered dead the next day. On November 25th, 1614, Elizabeth Bathory was laid to rest in the church of Countess. Some say her remains were returned to the place she was born after an uproar was raised in the village about the decision to bury the renowned contests in their cemetery. Elizabeth Bathory was a stunningly attractive and intelligent bride who married into a politically powerful family. Her influence rose after her husband died and left her their estate. Given that much of the testimony in her case was obtained through torture, it's not hard to assume that she was instead framed. Discover the unsettling and alarming norms of the past. Dive into the next video to unveil the shocking truths that once prevailed.